Hello everyone, it's Louise here from the future, and I just wanted to pop in. I'm just editing another lot of videos to put up online, and I realized that I didn't actually add an introduction to this one. So if you watched last week's video, this will kind of be a continuation, and then next week's video will also be like a part 3. So I just wanted to add that in as I just jumped straight into the videos, and I didn't even realize I didn't do it what's the word? Introduction. So anyway, I'm from the future and I'm coming back to say thank you for watching today. It's really more of a part 2 rather than a new video of canning and preparing and getting some food on the shelves at this really unstable time in our economy, and helping us prepare. And I hope this can help you prepare your own family and save a little bit of food and resources for a time that you may need it. And if not, you just get some yummy meals on the shelf, especially with the canned pumpkin soup. My son has already eaten a couple of those, so I really need to go back and make some more. They do not last long. They are so delicious, and they are so handy to have. So hopefully you enjoy this video. I thank you for being here, and I will hopefully catch you soon. All right, bye. Okay, so these are my homegrown onions that I grew last year. There's only 4 there. I didn't grow a lot successfully last year in the pots. It was kind of a funny season, and yeah, the year before I did really well with onions, but not last year. So anyway, this is what I only had 7, but 3 went off because I haven't used them this year. But this is what's left. So they've just been sitting there. I'm going to clean them off, get the outer skins off, and then I'm going to chop them up and use them today in my canning. So, okay, so here I've chopped up all my vegetables. Over the back here, I've got a cup of mushrooms, I've got a cup of carrots chopped, and 3 cups of potatoes, I think, or 2 cups of potatoes, 3 cups of onions, and I've just chopped up the celery. Ready to go into my canned meals. Now, I was lazy and I just bought a packet of celery that without the tops on it yesterday, just because I have enough already dehydrated and I don't need any more, and I just didn't feel like I had the time to do that this weekend. So if you want to though, if you buy a whole bunch of celery, you chop it up, and then all of the leaves you can dehydrate, and then I use that to put in spaghetti bolognese and things like that, which is really tasty. So I do recommend doing that. It's a great way to preserve the tops. But I just have a lot, and I know that I just didn't really have the time or the energy to actually do that this weekend, so I was a bit lazy and I just bought it without the tops on it this time. Over here I have a blade roast, so I'm just chopping this up. I'm going to chop it all up and get it ready to put into jars. As soon as I chop this up, I'm going to get out the chicken and a new cutting board and knife and chop up the chicken, and then I'll be ready to put all the jars together and put in all the spices and everything else that's going to go in. So I'll bring you along when I do that. I haven't recorded everything that I'm doing as I'm doing it this time, just because I just wanted to save time and I guess boredom of watching me chop vegetables. Anyway, I'll bring you back when I'm done all of the chicken and all of the beef. Here, and I'm going to be canning up some more meals in a jar today. So I thought I'd take you along and show you what I'm doing. And hopefully, especially if you're new to canning, or if you're even experienced, you can get some more ideas on what to do to prepare nourishing meals for your family to put away on the shelf and have as a store in case of times when we need it. And at this point in time, we are in very uncertain times, and I don't want to add any more fear that's out there. In fact, I want to do the opposite and add some calm to your life. And as a single mum who has survived on very little for a long time, I've been a single mum now for over 14 years, and I've had 3 children at home during that time. I separated when my eldest was about just turned 4, so a couple of weeks before her 4th birthday. I had 3 under 5, and yeah, and so I have gone through all of that time with very, very little money. And for a large part of that time, I was actually unemployed and surviving on benefits. So again, trying to feed and look after 3 children without much support, and Centrelink only has really, it's affected my life in a lot of ways. One, in that I don't think the way I ate was very good, because I've ended up with health conditions because of that, I believe. But you do what you do to get through, and times when it's absolutely necessary, I have learnt ways to prepare food and make food, and things from very, very basic ingredients and with very little money. So I want to try and encourage you that no matter how tight things get, that you can do this too, and you'll be able to get through whatever situations arise coming up. I really encourage you to try and put, so one thing I discovered when COVID happened was that I was in a very vulnerable position, because I did not have any money. I think I was on Centrelink at the time. I was working 1 day a week and picking up a bit of relief work here and there. So not really earning very much money. The majority of my income was still from Centrelink. And I found that, you know, I live paycheck to paycheck, dollar to dollar. And if something's coming up in my budget, you know, usually it's budgeted a month in advance, because that's how long it takes me to try and get money put aside for things, sometimes longer. Anyway, getting off track. But my point is that I realized I was in a very vulnerable position, because I didn't have money to store away food or to go to the shops when COVID happened and buy big bulk purchases of things. So I could barely afford any food, let alone adding bits in or buying bigger bags of things. It just wasn't an option for me. And that really scared me at the time, because I was trying to care for my 3 children and myself, and realizing that my resources were so limited and I was in such a vulnerable position that if I couldn't get access to bits of food here and there, then we were in trouble. So that really, I guess, ignited my passion for cooking even more from scratch, because I was already doing that because that was the cheapest way to get through each week. And then I started learning how to preserve food, and I started buying a little bit extra of this. And when I had money come in, say at tax time, I would go to the bulk food place and I'd buy a big bag of flour that would then do me for the whole year. Just little things like that. So if I did get extra money in, I learnt to stock up what I could without overspending too much. So I've really learnt a lot through this time, and I want to share that with you and give you some hope and encouragement as well, because no matter how hard things got, we always got through. And there were many times when I remember we had homemade bread for dinner as toast with Vegemite or jam, and that was our dinner. And while that was not ideal, we got through and we survived, and the next pay I was able to buy, you know, whole foods again. So my point is, I've really learnt a lot, and I want to share that with you and encourage you. And even now I'm working full time. However, I'm still living paycheck to paycheck, and things are getting more and more expensive. And my pay, as we know in Australia, we've basically had a pay cut for the last 5 or so years each year. So things are not getting easier, even though I'm actually blessed to have a full-time job. I don't earn a lot of money in that full-time job, but I earn more than the minimum, but yeah, still nowhere near enough to support 3 children. So I still employ things to help us through. And one thing I will say, to what got me through all of those years, if you have flour, plain flour, maybe some baking powder, but if you have flour, sugar, milk, and that can be in the form of milk powder. I always made sure I had milk powder in the cupboard, so if I needed to bake, I always had milk powder there to use. Yeah, if you have those basic 3 ingredients, flour, milk, sugar, you can basically create a very vast amount of different things. Some options would be, as I said, baking powder, so you can make cakes and things to rise it. Don't go buying self-raising flour and plain flour. Just buy plain flour, have some baking powder in the cupboard. I think for every cup of plain flour, it's 2 teaspoons of baking powder. So you can just substitute that in any time. If you get some eggs, some cheese, what else? Butter. And if you have a bit of tinned fruit in the cupboard, you can then your repertoire, and yeast. And I always kept yeast in the freezer so that it lasted. And I wouldn't buy the red yeast at this time. Every time I've used it recently in the last few years, I'll open it once and it'll work great. I go to use it the next time and basically it doesn't work. So I've been using the white one. I can't remember what it's called, but it's been lasting a lot better. But I always keep a big jar of that in my freezer, and then it lasts a year or 2, and you can just use it when you need it. So when things are going well, you don't need it, you have these things in your cupboard. Then when things are going tight, that's when you can go, I can't afford groceries this week, but here I've got this yeast flour in the cupboard, let's go make some food to get through. And that's how I've lived for the last 14 years. So I just really want to encourage you with that. So today we're making meals in a jar, and I'm going to take you through, because I had some blade roast in the freezer that I'd bought to maybe slow cook, and I've decided to use that instead to make some meals. And I just bought a big pack of chicken breast, so 4 chicken breast, kilo of chicken breast, and I'm going to make some meals with that and put them on the shelf. And as I mentioned in my last video, if you've watched that, I've gone carnivore, so I'm not eating these things at the moment, but they won't go to waste because I have a teenage son still at home. I have another teenage son who regularly comes and visits, and my daughter is at uni, so I'm going to make them in pint jars this time, not quart jars or not 2 litre jars, because I want to keep them individual size so that one of my children can just go and grab it and have a meal if they want. And then if things, do go to crap, I can still eat them too, but they're not going to be wasted, individually sized, rather than making a big one and it not being all eaten. So we don't want to waste. So you better to go smaller if in doubt than bigger and waste some. But before I get canning this time, I need to clean up my canning from last time. And that was about 3 weeks ago I made the last video, although I only just uploaded it today, or actually tomorrow. So anyway, these, I've been busy working and I haven't had the energy to just clean them. They've gotten fat on them because I've cooked steak next to them and it's gone over, and oh goodness, not ideal. Okay, not ideal. But it's life, and I'm not afraid to show my mess and to show my life, because I feel as though the more people that do encourages other people to not feel so bad. And for me, time and rest is precious, and spending time with my children is precious. And okay, hopefully you can hear me over the air fryer. My son's just cooking up some lunch, so yeah, all right. So I'm going to make a chicken curry. It says to do 4 pints for a kilo of chicken, but I think I'm going to do 8 pints just because, I don't know, that seems like a lot of chicken to me for 4 pints. So we'll see how we go. I'll come back once I've put in some chicken into the jars and show you. Okay, oops, I forgot to show you. So I've just tried to evenly as I can put the chicken into the jars. They're just loosely popped in there, so hopefully that's enough. I mean, you might want more chicken with your meal, I'm not sure, but anyway, this one we'll just see how we go. I've never made them in pint jars before. So now I'm going to make the spice mix for the curry, and I'm going to double it because I've got 8 jars rather than 4. So it says 2 teaspoons of salt. Where did I put my salt? Oh, you're sitting on my salt. Hang on a second. Okay, so recipe said 2 teaspoons of salt, so I put in 4 because I'm doubling it. Now it calls for 4 tablespoons of fresh coriander. I don't have fresh coriander. I don't really like it, but I've realised, I'm not a coriander person, but I have realised over the years that if I substitute in dry coriander, I don't taste it and it's not bad. I don't notice it. So I'm going to do, instead of 4 tablespoons of chopped, I would do 2 teaspoons of dried, but because I'm doubling this, I'm going to add 4 teaspoons of dried. Then we're going to add 1 teaspoon of coriander powder to the recipe, so I'm doing 2 teaspoons of coriander powder, curry powder, sorry. 2 teaspoons of curry powder. And it calls for a teaspoon of garam masala, which I do have. So I'm going to do 2 teaspoons because I'm doubling it. 1. Try not to get too much overfilled because the teaspoon doesn't fit into the jar. And then we have 4 tablespoons of tomato paste. So I will do this, but I need 8. So 1, this is going to get messy. 2, 3, 4. Oh my gosh. 5, 6. Oh my gosh, what a mess. 7. I should have just used a dessert spoon. 8. All right, I need to go wash myself off and I'll mix that together. Okay, so I'm just going to give this a mix. Oops, I'm not doing it like that. Make a mess everywhere. So yeah, just try and mix this thoroughly through. I mean, it probably would have been better to put in the paste first and then put in the spices, but just have to make sure you scrape all the spices off the bottom, which I have done. All right. Smells good. Oh, so anyway, smells good. Okay, so I have no idea what I'm doing here. So we need a cup of finely chopped onion to 4. So that would be what? A cup would be 1/4 of a cup to each jar, roughly. I'm just going to estimate it. But mean estimation is not always a good thing. So, roughly 1/4 of a cup. Of chopped onion. Then we need, I should have doubled this, a cup of chopped tomatoes. So I don't have a cup here. These are homegrown cherry tomatoes and that I grew. So I've just chopped them up. I didn't want to open a jar or a tin, but you could definitely do that. So I don't quite have, I should have chopped up 2 cups, but I actually don't have 2 cups. That's all my tomatoes ripe that I have. So I'm just going to spread a few into each jar. We have the tomato paste, so I'm not too worried about that. The tomato paste will make it tomatoey. So I'll just spread it out evenly as I can.
Can I quickly grab the chicken stock?
Yeah.
Just don't want to be in the way while you're recording.
No, that's all right. So I've just got some juice in the bottom. I'm just going to tip it into the jar to add extra flavour. Especially as some of my tomatoes weren't very ripe, so were underripe. Okay. Then I need 2 cups of diced potatoes.
I just moved some of those cups away from the bowl.
Yeah, and again, I probably haven't chopped up enough, so I'll just do what I think in there. That's okay. It doesn't really matter if it's not enough in the jar, because like you would put this with rice or something else as well, and so, you know, you just want a meal, something to fill the gap. So I pre-chopped these potatoes. I've just had them sitting in water. They probably needed a lot longer, but doesn't matter. It'll be fine. It'll mix in. And then we need 1/2 cup of raisins to 4 pints. So we need a cup. So I'll just put in a few raisins. Well, these are actually sultanas. Good.
That's like McDonald's chips.
Really?
I'm making sure. That's amazing.
Oh, well, that's good then.
How to get them again?
Yep,
Oh. We gotta be right.
that's fine. 2, 3, 4. So what I'm going to do with the paste, I'm not really sure. It doesn't say how much to put into the actual jar. So I've just roughly, you probably can't see because of the light, I've tried to put the paste evenly in the bottom. I've divided it into 4. So then each one, I'll put 1/2 of that quarter, so 1/8 into the jar. And that should be roughly even. And that's about that much. Although what I could have done is potentially mixed it with the chicken stock. However, the only problem with that is if you don't use up all your chicken stock, then you've got spice mix left out. So this should be fine. This will work. This paste smells amazing. Try and get as much of it off as I can. And yeah, probably some jars will be spicier than others. But that's the luck of the draw, and that's home cooking, isn't it? Okay, so I'll just wash my hands. So next comes the chicken broth. And we're just going to fill up the jars. I had chicken broth in cans, but someone decided to dehydrate them all because I was going to move and I wanted to save the jar space and have lighter jars compared to heavier jars when moving. But anyway, So I'm just using packets chicken stock here. And I'm doing this ladling because I don't know if you find it, but every time I try and use these measuring jugs, they just spill everywhere. And it's usually so messy, so I'm just doing it this way as it's a bit cleaner. Now hopefully as it cooks, the spices will mix through the jar. I might need to make just one more cup, I think, maybe 2 cups. It said 1 litre for 8, so half a litre for 4, but obviously I need just a bit more. So I'm just going through now and I'm just giving everything a bit of a mix. Now it's best practice to probably not use a metal spoon for this and to use wood or plastic, but I'm sure it'll be fine. I don't feel like making another utensil messy, and I'm doing it gently. So I'm just trying to mix everything through so that I know that we have the correct head space of liquid, and also so the spice can try and get a bit mixed with everything. Okay, I'll come back when I'm done. Okay, these actually smell so good. I'm just going to give them a quick wipe, just with a paper towel clean, just to get any excess food off it, and paste and tomato, just to get extra off. And then I will do a vinegar around the rim, and the vinegar just helps break down any fats or anything that may be on the rim that might stop it from sealing. So I'll just give these a wipe with the vinegar. I just want to say, as I'm doing this, I don't think if you haven't canned or your family doesn't can that you can't do this. I had no one in my family that ever preserved food that I could remember. No one canned. No one taught me how to do this. I decided to teach myself a couple of years ago, or a few years ago. So if you don't have anyone to teach you, I taught myself with YouTube and following people and researching and looking things up, and that's exactly what you can do too. So don't feel like you can't do it if you haven't had anyone can in your family. It's just a skill we can all learn. I will say though, I do remember my great grandmother who lived in Manildra. I remember going to her house once as a child, and she had a big old fireplace type cooker, you know, the old fashioned ones where you have a fire in it and you have the sides to it. She had that, and I remember going there once. Sorry, I'm just trying to get this one on. It's not really going. If there's any that don't really work, I find that I just get rid of them and I'll go get some new. Hang on. Through trial and error, I found if they're difficult to get on, I don't usually get a good seal. So I like the ones that go on nice and easy, and then you know they're not going to get jammed or anything. I don't know. I just find sometimes they get a bit out of shape or something, I guess. Okay, so fingertip tight on these jars. If you have, I'll just show you. This is a store-bought jar, reuse, which you can absolutely do. So don't feel like you need to go out and buy a heap of canning gear. If you have some jars at home
like sauce jars and things like that, or jam jars that you've used, and they've got a metal lid, you can absolutely use them. The only difference between this one and the ones I'm using at the moment is that on these lids you turn them on as hard as you can get them. These ones, it's called fingertip tight, so you don't turn it on as hard as you can, you just do it tight as your fingers can do it. Hope that makes sense. So anyway, I remember going to my great-grandmother's house. I didn't see her a lot, even though we only lived like an hour away. And I remember her putting a few jars in one of the ovens, and I'm like, oh, what are you doing? And she's like, I'm canning. I'm like, what's canning? I was probably about 11 at the time. And my parents were there, and they're like, oh, and she's like, oh, I can show you if you want. And I was like, yes, please. But my parents were there, and you know, I didn't grow up in a very nice home, and they were like, no, she doesn't need to learn that. But anyway, that's my only memory of anyone in my family canning, and she was oven canning. Sorry, just moved that on you. She was oven canning, which I now know. And she oven canned, I think it was like 6 jars. I don't know what was in them. I don't remember. But she had them in the old wood oven on one side. So, yeah, that's my only knowledge of anyone in my family ever doing anything like that. So if you're like me and you've grown up, which is quite common because, you know, my family said, again, I've moved you, sorry. Like I would ask them to teach me things that they knew, those kind of skills, and they would turn around and say, why? You don't need them now. And I'm like, but I want to know how to do that if I ever need it. And they just refused to teach me. And I think a lot of people maybe have grown up that way. So anyway, if you don't feel like you have the skills, you can definitely learn. So don't give up. Okay, so here I got this stock pot actually from Kmart. So it was the biggest one I could find. They're hard to come by, these big ones there, but sometimes you just find them. It's only a cheap one. I bought these inserts off Temu, and this one's gotten stuck in there, which is not ideal. But anyway, that's now become my canner, this one. So any old stock pot or pot big enough to have water covering the jar heights. And I just put them in here. So I have room for 7. And unfortunately I have 1 extra. So I'll just put that in the fridge. Or maybe I'll just leave it out while I'm getting the other lots ready. We'll see. But anyway, I'm just going to fill that up with water and then I'll put it to the boil. Okay, so the lid is on. It is turned on to boil. And the water is over the rims. And I think I showed you before, I usually do it to my knuckle height, but as long as they're covered, but you do need to watch it because if it's boiling a lot and a lot of steam and it boils over, you will lose some water. So if you need to top it up, especially when you're doing these meat ones, it takes 3 hours, well, plus boiling time. So, you know, really nearly 4 hours or so. You can lose a lot of water, and so whenever I'm adding water once it's boiled, I add boiling water to keep it on a rolling boil for those 3 hours. So that's very important. I do turn my stovetop down on this. I turn it down to 3. It goes up to 6 on mine, but that with the lid on, once it's come to a rolling boil, that seems to keep it at a good temperature where it's still boiling, but it's not aggressively boiling that it boils over. So if I have it on 4, I just seem to lose a lot of water out of the top. So for me, I find that works on my stovetop, but you will have to just play around with yours and see how it goes. But anyway, that once that comes to a rolling boil, I'll set the timer for 3 hours. Okay, so I am up to the beef and I've just put that into jars there. Let me see if I can bring you closer again. Hang on. Okay, so I am doing 2 meals in a jar here, but both of them have onions. So let's get the onion in there. I don't love a lot of onion. Onion doesn't agree with me very well, so I don't like putting in tons, but anyway, it's probably more for my children than me, so probably won't matter. Oh, let's just put it all in. And those were onions from my garden, so it makes me happy. Okay, so 4 of these are going to be beef stroganoff, and 4 will be just like a pot roast. So I'm just going to try and divide that. Oh no, I've got 5. No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I'll do 5. I've got 9 jars here. I'll do 5 stroganoff because that's the favourite. And then I'll do, so the pot roast has some carrots. And everything I've pre-chopped, I've had sitting in water so they didn't go brown. Just because it take a while sometimes. And I'll put some celery in it. Not too much celery. The celery that doesn't fit, I'm actually going to jar up as well into smaller 1/2 pint jars, just so that I've got some on the shelf for if I want to make a soup or anything for the kids, so it won't go to waste. And same with these potatoes. I think obviously I've chopped up too many potatoes, but I might just do a jar of those as well. That'll be good. All right, so that's that. Now for the spices. Beef stroganoff, what do I need? I need tomato paste. 4 tablespoons of tomato paste. Now I'm nearly out of tomato paste after that last lot, so what I might do, I don't know if you can see this, but there's not a lot left in there. Maybe a tablespoon. So I'm going to just add some water and make it liquidy and just do that. It'll be fine. So I've probably just added roughly 1/4 cup, probably more like 1/3 of a cup of water. And I'll just shake that up. Waste not, want not. I don't want to open a whole other jar, and then it's made it quite nice. So knowing me, I'm just going to estimate this and hope that I don't stuff up. I'm a very much by feel cook, but that seems to be perfect for me. Awesome. So yeah, that's a way to get some more tomato paste without opening another jar. And you don't waste it then either. Now this jar I will wash up and I will put it into my canning supplies, and I can use that for a meal like this in the future. So do not waste these jars. They are perfect for canning. And like I said, with these lids, you just turn them on as hard as you can before putting them in the cooker, and you will be fine. They'll work perfectly. Okay, so what else do I need for the stroganoff? I need 2 teaspoons of salt, a teaspoon of pepper, Worcestershire sauce. Oh my God, doesn't it annoy you? People can't say Worcestershire. Anyway, thyme, parsley, and 2 garlic cloves sliced. Or I might just use minced garlic. All right. Okay, so you're sitting on my salt container again. So while I had you off, I just added a 1/4 teaspoon of salt to each jar. Both the pot roast and stroganoff need it. Now, pepper, they also need about a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. Now, I'm not overly accurate. Well, maybe I should be. That's way too much. Maybe I should have just sprinkled it. Anyway, I think a 1/4 is too much for us anyway. All right, that'll do. That'll be fun. Okay. So I've got pepper, salt. Now, time. I'm going to try and do the dry ingredients first. So I unfortunately don't have thyme. I have dried I have lemon thyme in the garden. I don't think that's going to work. So what I'm going to use instead of thyme, because I don't have any in the garden, I don't have any dried, is a mixed herb blend. Now it's got thyme in it, but it's also got rosemary, marjoram, basil, oregano, sage. I don't think that'll make it bad. I think that'll be fine. So both of them use thyme, about the same again. 1/4 teaspoon. Again, we're just adding some seasoning, so that should be fine. And I'm just using what I have. And that's, you know, when you don't have a lot of money or things are tight or you can't get to the shops, you just have to improvise sometimes. And I've learned a lot over the years what I can and can't mix. So it is a good knowledge to have, but you do get there. Even if you don't know it, it's just trial and error and you'll get there. Now for the stroganoff, I need some parsley. So about the same, 1/4 teaspoon of parsley. Okay, so that's, I do have that. And the pot roast requires 2 bay leaves. Now I'm just going to break them up. So put about 1/4 of one in there. It's not quite 2. It's less than that, but I think half is a bit too much, especially in a jar that size. So I'm doing 2 recipes at once. So now I'm just up to the wet ingredients. Both need garlic. Okay, good. So I'm just using minced garlic rather than cutting up garlic. Now, how much do I need? I need 2 garlic cloves sliced. So about 1/4 garlic clove. So I'm just going to do about 1/4 teaspoon. That's too much. As best I can. I mean, it's not going to be perfect, but you know, it'll be fine. It will taste good. Sorry, this I pulled out all my spices and I've got some chili up my nose. Okay, and this is also another jar you can use to can. Now, I think we're good for the pot roast. Just need, it says a cup of dry red wine, but I'm just going to use beef stock. And same for the beef stroganoff. I'm just going to fill it with beef stock anyway. And we just need to add a tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce to each one. Now, I've washed up my tablespoon, so I'm just going to do 2 teaspoons. And yeah, Worcestershire. 1, 2. 1. Oops, I'm just wetting the potatoes. 1. And you can make Worcestershire sauce too. There are recipes out there. I have done that before. When I've been desperate and wanted to make something and didn't have it. It wasn't actually that hard from memory. Hopefully you can hear me. Sometimes I realize I just talk normally and I'm like, I don't have a mic on. Hopefully I'm not talking too softly. Okay, so now I'll just add beef stock to those and mix them and they will be ready to go. Okay, so again, I'm just going to use my 1 cup measure to help me pour them out. And I've made up the stock from a stock cube. I do find if you are making it up from a stock cube that it's best to use boiling hot water. It's just so it dissolves the stock cube a bit easier. And again, I'm just doing this roughly. I'll come back and top them up once I've given it a bit of a stir. Probably could have added more beef to the beef strog ones, but anyway. I'd have to make up some more stock again anyway. So I'm just going to make up some more stock. I'll give these a stir and I'll come back. Okay, so I've got all the lids on and them filled up, and we fill them up to the top of the neck here. And then, yeah, we're just going to put them in the pot. Now here I have a heavy based saucepan. I love this saucepan. I cook all my soups in. So it's a heavy based one. I bought it a long time ago, and for a long time it was the only stock pot I had. But when I started canning, I needed another one. Now, this one, you know, has been going, I don't know how long, but, you know, quite a while, and it's still not boiling yet. I bet you I put this one on and it will come to the boil at the same time or just before that one, the cheaper one. Anyway, this one does not have a trivet in the bottom, so you don't want the jars to go on the base of the pot. They will crack. They'll usually move around and the heat can cause them to crack. Sorry, trying to hold that. So what you can do is put a towel, a dishcloth, face washer, or as we used to call it, a flannel, or a tea towel. So I'm just going to fill this up. And it's perfectly fine to do that. It won't hurt the tea towel. It won't catch fire because it's all in water, that kind of thing. So you don't have to worry at all. Don't know why that went dark, but anyway. So this one I can't, though, get as many in. It is smaller. But what I like to do is just make sure there's no folds and creases on the bottom where I'm putting the jar. I do like to keep them on tea towel that's not folded. That's just my preference. I don't know if it makes any difference, but that's just what I do. All right, so I've got 2, 4, 6, 7 in here as well. So I'm going to do the same thing. Fill this with water over the top and get them on. I've got 3 jars left. I'll have another with the potatoes, so I'll get that going in another pot. And yeah, put them in the fridge while we're waiting. Okay, so both of these have come up to a rolling boil. I've turned them down and the timers have been set, so they'll just continue on like this for 3 hours. I've just canned up the rest of the potatoes. It only fitted into a little 1/2 pint jar. That's okay, it'll get used. And the celery, I've also done the same. I've just put them into 1/2 pint jars, just so that, you know, it's easy to add them. A little bit of celery goes a long way. So yeah, I think in pint jars you would waste them. So I'm just put them in 1/2 pint jars. I'm going to stick these in the fridge, and then when canners become available, I will put them on. But yeah, it's a great way to use up and not waste food. That's what I love about canning, is that you can do things like this and keep things on the shelf to use later, and it doesn't get spoiled or wasted, which saves your money and saves the environment and food costs as well. So I'll leave that there for now and come back a bit later on. Okay, so I've just pulled out my first lot of jars out of the canner, and I'm going to get on a load of chicken stock before, well, just to do now. I wasn't going to do chicken stock this weekend. I cooked a chicken for lunch on last weekend on Sunday, and I've been taking the chicken for lunch of a day, but I haven't eaten it all, and my son didn't eat it all. So I'm going to freeze up some chicken meat, and the rest I'm just going to make into a stock. I wasn't going to do a stock today because I have a lot of chicken stock in the cupboard. However, my youngest has just started getting a really sore throat. So I might just do it. And even if I just do it for a day with some stuff in it, he might like it as maybe a soup. But we'll see how we go. So I'm going to put on a chicken stock, and yeah, I'm only doing a 2 litre one at this point, not my big 6 litre slow cooker. So
I'll take you through what I've done. I'm pretty sure I've put up videos with this before, but I'll take you through anyway in case you haven't seen them. Okay, so here's my chicken meat I've just pulled off. I'm just going to put it in a Ziploc bag and I'm going to freeze that. And then when we want some chicken, I can pull it out. I actually might even divide that into two, just so we don't waste it. And then, yeah, this is what's left. There's still a lot of meat, a lot of skin on it, but I just don't think I can be bothered to really pull it all off today. So we're just going to chuck it in the crock pot and see how we go. Hello everyone, it's Louise from the future again. So I realized that I didn't finish off the video in the load of videos that I was doing. So this was filmed Easter weekend. So what you have just watched was Good Friday. And then I continued on Saturday and Sunday. So those videos, or that video together, because there wasn't a huge amount more, will come out probably next weekend. And in that you will see that I finished off the chicken stock. So I haven't taken you through the chicken stock. What I did was I just put the carcass into my 2-litre slow cooker, filled it up with water. I added an onion and a little bit of celery, and that's about all I added this time. I made it very simply. You can add whatever you want and vegetable scraps with it if you want. I don't salt it. I wait to salt my meals when they're put together rather than salt all the ingredients, just so you don't make things too salty when it all gets put together. So yeah, I just filled it up with water, and I actually did it for 3 days. So I slow cook for 3 days, and just if I need to top up the water in it, I will. Pardon me. And then I drained it off and canned it. So you will see that in the next video, but I just wanted to finish this off here because it's already 50 minutes long. So I try not to do 50-minute videos anymore. I usually try and do half-hour videos. So, but I had a lot there and I haven't really edited a lot out. I'm sorry if it was too boring. Hopefully it wasn't, but you know, it might be. I will try and do better if it was too boring, but anyway, I'm going to add this video up and I'm going to upload it, and hopefully you'll have it Sunday night to watch. So thank you for being here. I really do appreciate it. I know my channel's only just starting out and I have so many backlogs that I haven't done. And so, you know, I've got to get them out. But now that I have a new laptop, hopefully I can do that, because then I can take storage off my phone and get them out. So that will be good. That's what's been stopping me from uploading them. So anyway, I really appreciate you being here. If you enjoyed the video, I would so appreciate a like, a subscribe even, but just a comment and even a share to someone if you feel like it. But just commenting and liking and watching it through to the end really makes a huge difference to my video being put out to other people, and I really do appreciate it. So if you are still here, thank you so much for sticking to the end of a very long video, and I hope to see you again soon. All right, cheers my loves, bye.